Our gospel reading for today comes from Luke chapter 23. When they came to the place that is called the Skull, they crucified Jesus there with the criminals, one on his right and one on his left. Then Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." And then he cast lots to divide his clothing, and the people stood by, watching. But the leaders scoffed at him, saying, he saved others, let him save himself, if he's the great Messiah of God, the chosen one. Then the soldiers also mocked him, coming up and offering him sour wine, and saying, if you're the king of the Jews, save yourself. There was also an inscription over him, "This is the King of the Jews." One of the criminals who was there hanging kept deriding him and saying, "You not the Messiah? Save yourself and us." But the other criminal rebuked him, saying, "Do you not fear God, since you are under the same sentence of condemnation? And we indeed have been condemned justly. We are getting what we deserve for our deeds. But this man has done nothing wrong." And then he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." Jesus replied, "Truly, I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise." The Gospel of our Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Christ.
Please be seated. Today is Christ the King Sunday. It is the last Sunday in our church year. Next week begins our Advent season when we get ready and prepare for the coming of Christ. But today is the culmination of the whole church year. And the church has decided that this is the day we culminate everything by rejoicing and celebrating and acknowledging Christ is King. Now, can I be just kind of vulnerable and honest with you? I don't like this day. I don't like Christ the King, the whole concept at all. I don't like it when we observe it in worship. And there are a number of reasons. One is because it espouses an outdated system of ruling and governance that just doesn't seem relevant for today. But also because I don't really think deep down inside that I or most people regard Jesus as King. Most Christians, they want a God that saves them and then lets them be to live their life in whatever way that they choose. We tend to want God to kind of just empower us to be the people we want to be, to allow us to be successful. We don't view Jesus as King who has all authority over us. Instead, we kind of see Jesus as a kindly benefactor. The guy that's going to give me all that I need and help me become the full person I want to be so that I can rejoice and not have to do anything really difficult. Jesus the benefactor. Yes, that's what we should celebrate this day as Jesus the benefactor, right? But it's not. It's Christ the King. I guess deep down inside, this feels like a day when we're all giving voice to something we really don't believe in or we don't follow. We don't view Christ as King. And maybe the biggest problem is that the realization that if Christ is King, then I am not. Because there can't be two kings, right? It doesn't work that way. If Christ is really in charge, if Jesus is Lord and King, then I don't get authority. I don't get control. I don't get to have things the way I want them. And for many of us, we don't like viewing God that way. So I struggle with this day. I think of it as a day when there's a lot of pomp and circumstances. We go boldly proclaim Christ as King, and then we leave and I feel guilty because deep down inside I'm not so sure that I live in such a way that Christ is really King of my life. And then I read today's gospel story, this incredible story about this portrait of a king who's being crucified, a king who's being mocked, not just by one person or two people, but by religious leaders, by authorities, by the guards, by the people surrounding him. A man who's being incredibly vulnerable, who's being crucified for nothing that he did, is being made fun of. Now, Jesus, of course, has the power just to zap any one of these people and say, you get a skin disease. You get to lose your left leg. You're going to be in the poorhouse. He could have done that. He had that kind of authority. He had that kind of power. But that's not the portrait of a king that we see. It's not the image that we get in our gospel reading for today. We see a king who's willing to use his own power, his own authority, his own privilege, everything for the benefit of others. And we see that so poignantly when he's on the cross, full of pain, being mocked, being humiliated, and one criminal, the lowliest of low people, an arrogant person, to be on a cross, dying in such a way, and says to them, hey, if you're really the king, come on, get with it, save yourself and us, man. Who's deriding him? And then there's the other person on the other side who says, Jesus, remember me in your kingdom. You don't belong here. I do. I'm receiving justice. You're not. It was cut to the heart. And Jesus, in the midst of his own pain, in the midst of his own scorn, in the midst of his own mocking, is not thinking of himself. He's not thinking about revenge. He's not thinking about just zapping that guard over there who's saying that ugly thing about him. Instead of revenge, he's thinking about this man who's suffering next to him, who deserves to be suffering next to him, who's done horrendous things. He's wanting to comfort that man who's worried about his imminent death. Imagine that. We see a king who's nailed to a cross, who has the ability in that moment to say to God, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. It's a powerful image. And I think maybe what's so wrong about me on this day is not that I don't believe that Christ is king. It's just that I have a really screwed up image of what kingship is. We think of kingship as the ultimate expression of authority and power, getting people to do what you want. And if we really looked around this room, I wonder if we're really doing what Jesus wants with our lives, with our power, with our privilege, with our wealth, with everything that we have. And maybe Jesus is speaking to us and saying, stop worrying about who's in control, about who's in charge of your life, about who has true authority. Instead, be like me. Take the power, the authority, the privilege, everything that you have, start using it for the benefit of others, to comfort those who are in need, to bring truth and wholeness and wellness to the world around you. Start using what you have like I have, instead of using it to revenge, instead of wanting to win whatever competition you're in, instead of trying to glorify yourselves. Simply see your life as the means, as the power, as the opportunity that you have to display the love of God. And that's what Jesus did in that moment. That's Jesus as King, displaying the tremendous love that God has for us. Has anybody ever had a child who was sick and had to be in the hospital? Anybody ever go through that? I don't know. Go ahead. Many of us have, or we know someone who has, right? Any good parent, what are you going to do in that situation? Are you going to go and drop them off at the hospital at the door and say, have a nice day, just go take care of yourself, and give us a call when you're all better? No! You're going to realize how traumatic it is for a child to be in the hospital, and you're going to hold their hand, and you're going to walk them to the door, and every step of the way, you're going to reassure them, right? And what good parent is just going to abandon them? No, you're going to move into that room, and you're going to stay with them as much as it is humanly possible for you to do. You're going to be by their side, so that when they wake up, you want to be there for them, right? That's what a good parent does. When you have someone who's struggling in life, a family member, someone you love, you show up. This past week, I had a funeral for my cousin who's 54. He died of cancer, leaving behind him a wife and 3 kids. He'd been diagnosed last February, and so he had this process of dying. They knew for a month beforehand that he was going to die. And so throughout that last month, there was this parade of people at the hospital. He was hardly ever alone. Now, I don't think in the whole last month, what one moment he was ever alone. Everybody showed up, because that's what you do when someone is sick and hurting and suffering. You show up, you come, you don't just abandon them. And that's what God did. The world is indeed broken, and yes, life at times hurts. And at times people who are 54 years old die from a disease that never should have happened. But God just doesn't leave us here to live and say, okay, call me when you're done and you're ready to come to heaven. No, God shows up. God comes into this world and lives among us and in us and around us. And in the most ugly of moments, God has the love to say, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. That is the heart of God who is there with us, even in the most difficult times of trouble. Even if we are mocking God, even if we're rejected, even if we are angry at God for the hand that we've been dealt and the injustices that we've been given, even if we're angry at all the things that are wrong in our lives, and it doesn't matter who's to blame or why it's happening, it just doesn't work out. And in those moments, we remember that Christ is King. It doesn't mean that because Christ is King, that my life is going to be great, and that all everything that ails me or everything that is trying to suppress me is going to be removed, and Christ is going to have vengeance on everything in my life just as I want it. But instead it means that Christ is going to be present, Christ is going to be with me, and as King, Jesus has left behind the supreme example to turn to others, to use your authority, to help comfort, to lift them up, and help them to experience the powerful love and grace of God. Amen. Our takeaways with today. Remember, your takeaways from last week are written on your prayer list for this week. But our takeaways for today, this is the things, the truths that we hook our faith on and take home with us. The nature of God is not to avoid suffering. The nature of love is not to avoid pain or the places of pain. God does not avoid the difficult moments in our lives. God is present. God is there. God is with us. God would never abandon us in our most needful of moments. Our second takeaway, and that's what God did on the cross. God came into a broken world, suffered the mocking and the misery of others, and the torture of others, just so that God could be with us and to show us how to live in this world. And the second takeaway is Jesus shows us how power and authority should be used. Jesus shows us what it means to be king and how to be king. So, for the benefit of uplifting and caring for others. Let's stand for our song of the day.